Hello everybody, it's Michael from Replica Airguns with another Which is the Best Airgun video. Today we're looking at classic semi-auto airguns, going back a little bit in history. Nothing modern here on this table at all, even though a lot of people still shoot some of these guns today, like the 1911, even the Makarovs. All of these guns, Tokarevs, you're still going to find people shooting them today, but they're not necessarily modern guns at all, right? So these are your classic, legendary guns that we're going to look at today. Now, all the guns on the table happen to be styled after semi-auto pistols. I'm not going to go into the revolvers because I made a specific revolver video already, and I just want to kind of focus on semi-autos here. They're also all going to be full blowback action with the exception of the Bakal MP654K here. This is not a blowback action gun, but it does have a working slide, a lot of working parts, very realistic, even real, made out of real gun steel. Watch my Makarov comparison video to see more on that gun. So what do we have on the table here? Well, we have the Mauser / broom handle pistols here, these semi-auto pistols, and these happen to be styled after the C96 or the M712, right? So there are different variations of the broom handle or Mausers out there, lots of different variations, but that's what these ones are styled after, and they're both pretty much the same in a lot of ways. Stylistically, functionality slightly different. We'll get into that. Also have my Tokarev. This is a TT. The real steel versions are going to be made in a lot of different areas, China, Russia, lots of them out there in different variations, shooting actually a lot of different types of ammo as well. I know you're going to say a lot of people still shoot these guns today, especially the 1911. It's very popular even today, but they go back a long time, right back to 1911, right? So a lot of these guns have some serious history. So the TT happens to be Gletscher made. The Umarex here is a Colt Combat, and it's designed to be, a very sort of distressed looking gun like you'd find in, in the old World War series guns. This is what would have been the sidearm in the military there. We also have the Makarovs. We happen to have a KWC and again a Bakal Makarov. We'll get into them in a second here, a little bit more detailed. And to the right side of the table we have the P38 Walther and we have the P08 here. This one's a KWC version. This is an Umarex gun. And last but not least, I just couldn't fit it on the table, but it's not a pistol, it is a rifle, machine gun that is, and this is the MP/40 or MP40 through Umarex. I've done full videos on this gun. This is another blowback gun. It shoots in semi-auto and full auto. Super cool gun, but I did want to include it as well. Very heavy, very realistic, full-size dropout magazine, working stock, all of the bells and whistles. It's hard to show it here on this small screen, but watch the video for it if you're interested in it. This is a super cool gun. All right, let's work our way through these guns. So here's the Umarex. This is the Umarex C96, and it's a nice gun. It's a little light because the actual frame or the outside of this gun is like a polymer or plastic, and the magazine has plastic and metal in it. The barrel even has a plastic coating, but there's definitely a lot of metal parts on the inside. It is a blowback gun, right? So it's a single action blowback gun. It's a lot of fun to shoot. The blowback action is pretty good because it's a metal bolt in there, right? And this gun just shoots in semi-auto only. Nice gun though, real fun. Definitely worth shooting and buying for that matter. Let's just get that up there. Okay. Next to it is the KWC version. Again, this one comes in airsoft and steel BB versions. All right, let's get the focus happening here. This is the BB version, and you'll notice it's got full and semi-auto capabilities. It does have a working slide or bolt, right? So it'll be a bolt, and it's all metal pretty much, including the magazine, full metal dropout magazine. So definitely more weight to this gun. Even the bolt feels a little bit more, like it's just got a little bit more weight to it, a little more heavy blowback action. Out of these two, I'm going to, tell you which one I like best. I definitely like the KWC one the best because it's all metal, more realistic, heavier blowback action. All right, let's look at the TT, the Gletscher TT. Nice gun. I love Tokarevs. They're really cool. They remind me a lot of a 1911 because they're fairly narrow, got a good weight, but they're just a little smaller, just like a baby version or slightly lighter version of a 1911, right? A little smaller grips. This is a nice gun. And again, it's blowback action, right? But it's not like it's got as heavy a blowback action. It's okay. It's just not a full blowback action. Working slide, catch, release. The trigger, as you can see, is a little different than what you'd find on a real TT or a Tokarev. But, it's pretty nice. It does just have a standard you know, stick magazine as opposed to full-size dropout metal magazine, but it's still not a bad gun to shoot. And you know, it's really, as far as I know, the only Tokarev that you're going to find in a BB gun. I know there's other airsoft versions, but in terms of steel BB, that's about all I know that's out there. I've done a bazillion videos on 1911s, KWC 1911s. I just happen to like the distressed look. I just happen to like the standard A1 government issue 1911. You know, it's just such a beautiful gun, and why not, you know, go with the distressed version? Why not, right? These guns are awesome. Watch my videos on the KWC 1911 or Cybergun 1911s. They're probably one of the most popular guns you're going to find out there. Now, I just did a video on the Makarovs. Hopefully you watched it already. If not, watch that video. And you know, out of the two, I really like the Baikal Makarovs. I have a nickel version that I probably, you know, focused on a little bit more just because it's really unique. But I love the real steel Makarovs. They're just like, even the spring on this gun is just heavy duty. Like the slide catch release, when I first got this gun, I could barely even release it without a ton of pressure. Now it's starting to work in. Just like a lot of these real steel, you know, made out of gun steel guns, you need to work them in. This one happens to be double and single action. The double action trigger is pretty heavy, not gonna lie. But I love the fact that this gun is just so heavy duty. It's so well made side by side, you know, with the real steel Makarovs, fully filled, strippable, all of that, right? Now, getting to the KWC version, it's not made out of gun steel. It's standard, you know, zinc metal, your airgun standard metal, but this gun is blowback action, okay? So you are going to get true single action trigger on it. You're going to get heavy blowback. This gun does also have a full-size dropout mag, right? You know, it's got a lot going for it, field strippable, a lot of fun to shoot, you know. Probably, I don't know, it's a tough call because I love the realism, the ultra realism in terms of how it's made of the Baikal, but I love the functional realism of the KWC. I love blowback. I love all the true single action trigger action. I love that, right? Moving on to the Umarex Walther P38. Another nice gun. This one's been out for a while. You know, if you're a P38 fan, if I can get in here, I don't think there's a lot going other, you know, guns like it. There is the Crossman, basically P38 out there. I don't think they call it a P38, but there's a Crossman version, and it's okay. It's not as nice as this gun. I prefer this version. That's why I'm showing you this one. This is going to have a standard stick magazine, although it looks like it's got, you know, a full-size magazine. So they've done a good job of making it look like it. It is blowback action. It's just a light blowback action. It's not heavy. It's got a nice trigger though. Just a single action only trigger. Right, working safety, nice gun overall. You know, even has the recessed barrel. It looks the part. It's pretty heavy too. It just doesn't, you know, have that blowback heaviness of some of the other blowback guns. All right, moving on to the P08, another KWC gun, very realistic. Okay, and you know, working safety, right, working bolts. Okay, and it works just like the real one. So I can't even get that bolt to go back because the gun's empty until I remove the mag. So it basically locks back on the last round until you put a new mag in, and then it'll go forward again. But really nice gun. The trigger on this gun is just exceptional too. You know, oops, let me do that again. I want to show you how it's super light, and there's just like next to nothing, no creep, just boom. So you can really shoot this gun quick. You know, that bolt moving up and down is kind of cool. It's unlike a lot of other guns out there. You know, it doesn't have the typical slide, so it's pretty neat. And they did a really good job, you know, recessed barrel of making this gun, giving it good weight, giving it good functionality and realism. So, which one is the best? Geez, this is going to be tough. You know, I'm going to have to go with the MP40, the Umarex MP40 machine gun. Just because it's so unique. You don't get a lot of full auto BB guns. There's so few of them, and especially ones that are like this heavy. You know, you can get like the Steel Storm with your 6-round burst, or the Steel Force. There's, you know, there's those types of guns out there, but they're lightweight, plasticky guns. They're not like this. You know, there's other guns like the Draws, but super hard to get those now. So to have a full blowback, semi-auto, full auto machine gun that's a classic, you know, legendary gun that's made as well as this gun is, I think that's super awesome. This is definitely, I guess, my favorite. I know it's not a pistol, but you know, I'm comparing apples to oranges here. But in terms of, you know, classic guns, this is it for me at least. If I had to pick a pistol, I'm going to just have to go with the 1911. I love 1911s. They're just my favorite gun to shoot. I love the way they hold in the hand. I love just the slide. Even on these KWC versions, like a real 1911, there's like a little bit of a lag, a slide lag when you shoot it. 1911s don't have as snappy of a slide in real, and even in the KWC version. It just seems like it's a little more sluggish than some of the other guns because it's a pretty heavy slide. So I like how realistic it is in terms of trigger, blowback, slide action, everything. Alright, that wraps up this which is the best classic or legendary airgun video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Check me out on Facebook and Twitter. Username is Replica Airguns. Also come on down to replicaairguns.com where I have articles, post reviews, a lot of additional photos and full reviews for these guns, both tabletop and shooting videos for a lot of these guns. So check them all out on the website and over on YouTube as well. You can also buy a lot of these guns through our Canada or US online airgun stores at replicaairguns.us and replicaairguns.ca. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.